That is never a dull day. Welcome to the Village Boy Podcast. This is your host, Trez, the Trump era travel ban, the visa bans. During his first term, he had bans on Muslim. It was the Muslim ban. Now he has extended it to 43 countries, and a lot of people are reacting to the ban because they're seeing a lot more countries. And the one question I've asked is, what did your country do specifically to be on this list? This episode, we're just going to look at some of the countries that are on the list and what did they do to get on the list. We're going to start with the New York Times. We're going to look at two different publications, the New York Times and what the New York Times says about those 43 countries that are on the travel ban, or the supposedly it's not the the definitive list. This is just a draft list. A draft list circulating inside the administration's lists three tiers of countries whose citizens may face restrictions on entering the United States of America. There's the red, all travel ban. If you're on the red list, there's no travel for you. You're banned, and this is probably going to be through the duration of the Trump administration. If you're on orange, visa sharply restricted, which means there are conditions you have to meet to get a visa. Red, straight up banned. Orange, conditions. And yellow, you have 60 days to address the concern. If you address the concerns that the State Department has stipulated, you get off the list. We're going to go over the red. We have Afghanistan, Bhutan, Cuba, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen. I don't think that there's any outlier. I don't think there's anybody here that's not supposed to be here per the American standards of national security. Um, these are typical countries that have been on this list through Democratic and Republican presidents. I don't think that this is new. It's just that Trump tends to hype these things. Now, it doesn't mean that people from this country don't travel. There's still exceptional cases where people from such countries are still going to travel. So that's the red list. The ban is in effect, and they're not. They're mostly Muslim. I mean, Yemen Muslim, Syria Muslim, Sudan Muslim, Somalia Muslim, North Korea not Muslim, Venezuela not Muslim, Libya Muslim, Iran is not. Iran is not really considered a Muslim country. Cuba not Muslim. Bhutan, I think it's like a Muslim country. Afghanistan. Orange visa sharply restricted. Belarus, Eritrea, Haiti, Laos, Myanmar, Pakistan, Russia, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, Turkmenistan. Those are the countries that have to meet certain conditions to get, and we'll explore again and see definitively what is going on with these countries. On the yellow list, we have Angola, Antigua and Barbuda, Benin, Burkina Faso, Cambodia, Cameroon, Cape Verde, Chad, Republic of Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, Dominica, Equatorial Guinea, Gambia, Liberia, Malawi, Mali, Mauritania, Saint Kitts and Nevis, Saint Lucia, Sao Tome and Principe, Vanuatu, I think that's probably South Pacific, and Zimbabwe. The officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the sensitivity internal deliberations cautioned that the list has been developed by the State Department several weeks ago. Let's go ahead and review the third tier. Where does it start? The proposal also includes a draft yellow list of 22 countries that would be given 60 days to clear up perceived deficiencies, with the threat of being moved onto one of the other lists if they do not comply. The people on the yellow list have deficiencies that the US has identified in each country. They have 60 days to remediate. Once they remediate and the US approves, they could either come off the list or move to the red or orange list. Right? These are the conditions for this list. So you have 60 days to remediate the deficiency. Once you've remediated the deficiency, the State Department will review it and make a decision if you get off the list or if you stay or progress to another list. Such issues could include failing to share with the United States information about incoming travelers, purportedly inadequate security practices for issuing passports, or the selling of citizenships to people from banned countries, which could serve as a loophole around the restrictions. When you look at these countries, these are countries you would know typically are very lax on security issues. So you take a country like Cameroon, anybody from anywhere can have a passport in Cameroon. And I'm surprised that Nigeria is not on this list. It means Nigeria has improved on the security, and that's pretty impressive. We've known Nigeria that they are always the ones leading in these things. But you see countries like Cameroon, very lax in national security. Anybody from anywhere can acquire a Cameroonian identity, a Cameroonian passport if you have the right money. And this would be of concern to America, or at least to the Trump administration, that people, that list the official said included Angola. We've already gone through this list. And during Mr. Trump's first term, courts blocked the government from enforcing the first two version of his travel ban, but the Supreme Court eventually permitted a rewritten ban. So those are some of the conditions, right? Lax on security and stuff. And when people are getting emotional because they see their country on this list, this is part of the political process. When you vote because you're emotional, right? It is true that these countries are lax on security, and if America does not want to issue visas to countries that are lax on security, they need to know who's coming. You've done your due diligence. You've fingerprinted. You've if they want to be able to trace this person, they should be able to trace this person. If you don't do that, then you don't have a right to America, to American visa. These are conditions that any country and every other country should be able to mandate these conditions. I don't see why people are so emotional and up in arms. These are standard things that in 2025 your countries, your respective countries, should pride themselves that they have elevated the game. It should be easy for your country people to have passports. It should be easy for your country people to be able to do a background check of all the citizens and know who is who and who is doing what. So I'm surprised when I'm going through social media, I'm seeing all the Africans, they're triggered. They're like, oh, my country is in there. My country is in there. Tell your country to step it up. Let's go ahead on something that's more conservative and see a little bit on what the conservatives had to have to say on this issue. So we'll go to Newsweek. Full list of countries that may face Donald Trump's travel ban and curbs. Again, it's not definitive. No country on the yellow list has been sanctioned. They have 60 days to remediate, fix whatever, put a plan, right? And then would then table it through their embassy or to the State Department and say this was what was cited and this is what we have done to fix those things. These countries have the ability to petition, take corrective actions, uh, amend the deficiencies, and then submit them for review. Then they reevaluated and seeing if they would be accepted. Let's look at another newspaper, see how they break it. The Indian press. Trump's travel ban 2.0 to affect 43 countries, including Afghanistan and Pakistan. Right. And let's go back down. Red, no one from this bucket would be allowed to travel to the US. Countries include, we've already gone there. So the people from here are not going to be allowed to travel from the US. So in the red list, I'm not certain if they have an ability to petition or amend. Orange list, travel from this country would be restricted, but not completely stopped, right? The entry of affluent business travelers might still be permitted, but that immigrants or tourist visas will not be issued. Trump is focused on the business side. Immigrants and tourists will not be issued visas. on this list would have to clear mandatory in-person interviews to receive visas. So okay, so a retake on that, they're not going to be banned, but they would have to go through a much more severe interview process to receive a visa. The yellow list includes 22 countries that would be given 60 days to resolve perceived deficiency. If this remains unaddressed, these countries in this list could be moved to either of the two above buckets. According to the New York Times report, these issues could include, so these are kind of some of the issues, failing to share information about incoming travelers with the US. You would agree, if the US needs information of somebody who's traveling to the US and your country cannot provide it, that's a problem. That's a security breach for America. It's a lot of people that want to do harm to America. It's a security breach. Keep your emotions in check and be real with what America has to do to protect its interests, right? Failing to share information about incoming travelers with the US is a security breach for the US. And the US doesn't have time to be pampering you or anything. They're just gonna put you on their list. So it's your responsibility, or at least your country's responsibility, to say that we would make sure that we have all the information. We would do an extra vetting process to ensure that the people have been vetted, fingerprints are done, we know all of these people traveling, and the US is satisfied. Second, uh, inadequate security practices for issuing passports. You cannot just sell your passport. Somebody cannot have four or five passports of the same country. It means that there's no systems or checks and balances. These are valid points that America is putting out to ensure that their citizens are protected, their country is protected against anybody coming to do harm to America. Selling citizenship to people from banned countries. So, okay, so we've looked at the ban list. If somebody lives, from example, from is there a black country on that list? Is on the first list? Is there a black, uh, like let's say Cuba, like Cuban could. Cuba now goes to any of those countries on there. Cuba, they speak Spanish. Go to any of these countries that speak Spanish in Africa. A Cuban goes to Equatorial Guinea, for example, right? They speak Spanish in Equatorial Guinea and they speak Spanish in Cuba. So the Cuban cannot come to America directly because they are on the red list. They are right there on the red list. They cannot. But they could go to Equatorial Guinea. They go to Equatorial Guinea and they acquire citizenship in Equatorial Guinea. Now, with that citizenship, they're able to travel to the US. The US needs to be able to know all of these things. And I don't see anything wrong with it. It's their law, it's their policy, and you shouldn't be using your emotions to judge this kind of things. So, selling citizenships to people from banned countries, which could serve as a loophole around the restrictions. I mean, America is a country of loopholes. That's how it functions. So, other countries have learned to use loopholes. But if America does not want this, it should not be an issue that would trigger you or people are getting emotional. Just fix these things and your country gets off the list. Don't fix them. Your country is going to stay on the list or move to a more severe list. You look at Equatorial Guinea, for example, that has ties with Cuba because they speak the same language, and Cuba is on the red uh, uh, list and Equatorial is on the yellow list. So if Equatorial Guinea does not fix this within the next 60 days, then they could move to the ban or to the orange list. That depends on them. Instead of crying and saying, "Oh, this is what you voted for, the consequences elections have," just go fix what they've asked you to fix, and you're good to go. That will be it for the show. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, put your comments in. Let's go grow the page. Thank you for watching. Bye.